There are moments that become tipping points. But once in a while, you see it happening live, like you're watching a movie.
It's time to experience the built world.
The most amazing thing about New York City is that depending on who you are and what your relationship is with the city, playing means something different to you. The museums, the Broadway, the concerts, the venues, right? But we have a lot of things that happen in the nooks and crannies and the in-between. But it's in those off-kilter moments where you find somebody using a staircase as a skate park or big field as for a pickup soccer game. It's all those little moments that really make that feeling of playfulness come alive in New York City. And we've had some pretty fun moments ourselves playing all around the city.
One of the basic principles of sustainability is do more with less. And this is where New York excels. They have taken public spaces that might have been discarded or torn down and repurposed them. So there's a couple of really fantastic examples of that. One of them is the Highline, and it was the old railway line that serviced the meatpacking district. It was no longer used. They could have pulled it down, but instead they repurposed it. So now it is a fabulous walkway, complete with gardens, sculptures, art. All of the architects are now building beautiful architecture next to it. So it's actually architecturally beautiful as well. Fantastic examples of sustainability in the 21st century. Taking existing structures, repurposing them in a very thoughtful way with sustainable outcomes for the benefit of everybody who lives in the city.
When you think of the cycles of life, having spaces to play for all ages and demographics is vital.
Zaha Hadid was the architect, her only building in New York City. She unfortunately passed away while we were building the building, which is extremely sad. But at least we have this to, remember her by. It's futuristic with a nod to nature as well. A very optimistic view of the future.
And the Highline is just right up there.
That's a Highline. So we're in the art gallery district. And so there's tons of art galleries here. The best in the world are in West Chelsea. And so we built something called the Highline Nine, which is 9 spaces in a cafe in the center corridor. And the 9 galleries kind of work together by feeding each other, and one gallery will have an opening and all the other galleries open their doors. Even during COVID, we had painters. And so we had artists in there painting away as a studio, but the public could walk through and watch them. And so they created these massive pieces of art, and we had a big, social distance event at the end.
Well, I think it's so unusual, but yet incredible that you guys dabble in so many mediums of the real estate ecosystem, because art plays an incredible role in our world, but you don't hear so many creative nuances and flavors of how that's going down, especially during these times.
You see the IMAX theater?
We did not. We saw the sign.
I think this is New York's only private IMAX theater. 2 years ago, I hosted the Falcon Heavy launch party, the big rocket that Elon launched. We had this private astronaut here, so both he and I were standing over there, both crying when the rocket was going up.
Sandbox is a collaborative partnership between the Zaha Hadid building on the Highline and the Related real estate company. They took some space that was in the basement that was pretty low value, and they built a play area that really had a focus on engineering and construction.
We don't necessarily aren't used to building stuff in our garages. Most people aren't really working with their hands at all, but that's a very important skill. That's just, our kids need to be prepared for the future. And so then I thought to myself, I am actually like a mad scientist inventor when I'm not being a real estate developer. And I have 3 little girls, aged 8 through 13. the world is changing exponentially, and that means that by 2028 they say computers will be smarter than humans, and the computers will do everything, including computer programming. So what do we need our kids to know how to do? They need to know how to invent, to be able to create. And so that's what gave me the idea of this room should be a place of invention, where the kids who live in this building or visit can actually come in and be inspired to build something, fail, figure something out. But what really surprised me was the multi-generational part. It was not just for kids. One of the most active users of this room are the grown-ups, are middle-aged, retired, 3 generations of people all working on projects together, separately, totally happy in the same room. There's some developers who just have a playbook and just develop without any creativity. We are always charged with following the trends and looking forward to the trends and to build something that will meet the needs of our residents ahead of time, sometimes before they even know it.
I want to know what inspires you, Greg.
Like innovation and doing something a new way. And if there's an opportunity where there's a problem or something that's been done the same way forever, I think there's an opportunity there.
I totally
And to break
agree.
it down and forget whatever knows conventional wisdom, throw that out the door, and then think what are the real problems, and then solve from there.
What would you say to a city full of super creative people that are going through a moment where we collectively have to retool and reimagine the value that we're bringing to this ecosystem?
I think the most important thing for people to think about is to focus on the creativity and the ability to adapt to new things. That's what's going to be success for the future. The half-life of a useful skill was 27 and a half years, which meant that if you learned how to be a plumber, you could basically make a career out of that. Now, the half-life of a useful skill is about 3 years, which means everyone has to be constantly inventing themselves. For the people who are okay with that, or like that, the creative people actually, that's somehow easier.
Well, it's not human nature to be comfortable in a place of the unknown, but I think what technology has taught us in the very recent history is that technology is the foundation a lot of times just to allow us, enable us to create things that maybe are even outside of our imagination.
Definitely.
Super cool.
I have a civil engineering background and I spent 20 years essentially in real estate development. And I got into the AR/VR space because I saw an early version and immediately knew it was going to change the world.
Mid-2017, by pure chance of luck, by accident, I was put into an experience called the Fruit Ninja. And then I just couldn't stop having it. So it was a bit of an epiphany for me, where I literally was so overwhelmed with emotion. 20 seconds later, 40 seconds later, I took the headset off and I said, this is absolutely how we will live, learn, and have fun going into the future.
So there's super early versions from the 60s and military applications. And then in the 90s, there was this birth of it. But the 90s just couldn't do it, right? Yeah. The types of experiences were way too expensive. The hardware was too bulky. And a lot of the same arguments that we have now still exist. Even from now till 3 years ago. 3 years ago, to get a true VR experience, you needed a high-powered PC and you needed a headset that was wired. It was probably around $2,500 for the whole setup. Now it's an order of magnitude less. It's $299 and it fits in a shoebox. And you don't have to be a hacker to actually get it up and running. You can literally be a kid or a grandmother, and it's seamless in taking it out, turning it on, and you are now transported to your imagination.
Virtual reality is the most immersive and most emotional medium known to man. And you really can't describe it unless you try. So for me, it's the combination. Where else in the world you can go from creating a beautiful art to going to shoot, to then maybe exploring the universe, and then going back to either seeing a film that is all around you or having a drink in the bar. And it's this experience to me that was really special.
There's so much cool stuff happening in VR as it relates to art and VR. It's not just creating art in maybe virtual reality, but mixed reality, but also being able to experience traditional art in a more immersed environment.
Art is really a warm place in my heart. I love to paint, I love to draw. And I've grown from two-dimensional art to three-dimensional art. Drawing in virtual reality in three-dimensional is actually more like sculpting.
It's an art in and of itself.
And there's a growing community. So many 3D artists are trying to draw things in 3 dimensions on 2D screens. And there's this growing community of 3D artists that are actually drawing the content in virtual reality.
Virtual reality isn't just for us who want to experience it, it's also for those who want to create art. And so you have artists who will create directly in virtual reality because it allows them the opportunity to refine things or change however they want without wasting materials or having to start all over again. And so it allows them not only the flexibility to design, but even more opportunity to be very creative in a virtual world.
Art now has a new way to be shared. We have partners and friends that are taking two-dimensional murals on buildings and creative immersive content that the art jumps out of the wall. We've created a three-dimensional drawing for children that are into pediatric. They can actually put on a headset and escape their room so they don't feel as if they're in the hospital anymore. They're given a three-dimensional canvas and they can sketch and draw in 3D in VR, which is super fun.
We committed to feature virtual reality experience as a place where there's music that meets art, that meets gaming, and you overall have this 360-degree sort of experience called fun. Retail seemed to have been overbuilt and had not met the consumer's demand. So the thinking was, besides the fact that this would be amazing entertainment in the 21st century format, this would be the type of use that could actually drive traffic. So the idea was very simple: to diversify by bringing in the widest range of experiences and embracing the gamers, the film lovers, art lovers, people that just simply like to have a good drink and watch others. And that was really the idea. And I think it paid for itself in a very interesting way that, in essence, we are establishing this new entertainment format.
If there's a pivot that goes from consumption of goods to services and experiences as a paradigm that drives retail, I mean, that's exciting in and of itself.
We move with the times. So we understand that flexibility in the approach is ever more important. There are cycles in real estate that might not correlate to general macroeconomic trends.
Thinking about virtual reality, it's level setting, where no matter what generation you are, you can all come together and have the same experience. It eliminates restrictions. There's no physical limitations. There's no location limitations. The only limitation is really your imagination. And so virtual reality really allows you to take that extra step that you might not do in reality.
You know, what's happening with some of the things that are shut down now? So obviously a lot of like your ballet and your museums and things are closed. So what do you know about translating those experiences to your everyday person, consumer audience?
Yeah, so we are very active working with those organizations, trying to basically replicate what they were doing in real life in immersive content. The hope is, and we know it will be, even though right now the immersive content is kind of the only option, in the future, this will give these organizations a way to share their content well beyond the confines of their local location.
So the impact of physical art now can transcend the physical audience is so amazing. Just the level of impact is so extraordinary.
Yeah.
It'll be very exciting.
Exactly. We have a partnership with a band, and we have a platform for entertainment. And it takes it one more step, is that we have a live broadcast going into a virtual world. So the audience can have a green room conversation with the performers after the performance in real time. Without
Rather
even,
than waiting at the stage door.
that's right,
Yeah.
that's right. Without even leaving your house, you can watch the
That
whole
was pretty
performance.
fun. That used to be pretty fun though.
This actually lowers the impact and increases the sustainable outcomes of how we're delivering arts and entertainment to each and every one of us.
It's still a challenge to get people into virtual reality. They still have to put something on their face. It's shutting out the real world. It can be scary for people. So it's going to take time, and VR isn't for everyone. I attribute it a lot like scuba diving, right? You have to put on this mask, and it's a little dangerous, and you can go to these amazing far out worlds, but you have to want to do it, and that's the key. But if you're willing to do it, there's no limitations.